Mice at Center Ice, Chapter 6, A Close Shave. A few moments later, Benny approached the rink rats' dressing room. His teammates were pressed close behind him. They crawled through the rat hole to the inside. "What are we going to do in here?" Peppy asked. He was shaking from head to tail. "Have to find something," said Benny. "It's important." "Most upsetting," said Figaro, glancing around. He looked as if he expected the rink rats to jump out any time. "I have a feeling we are being watched." "We are alone," Benny assured him. "The guards are too afraid of Big Boris to leave their posts now." He peered around the room until he saw what he had come for. He hurried over to look at the loudspeaker that lay on the floor. "We need this for sound effects," he said. "Help me move it closer to the rat hole." Amongst the three of them, they managed to roll the loudspeaker across the floor to the rat hole and through the other side. Peppy's nose began to twitch and sniff, and Figaro's ears stood up straight. "I smell cheese," said Peppy. "The cheddar cup," Benny whispered. "It's right on the other side of that door. The secret room, remember?" They padded softly across the broken floorboards to the entrance of the secret room. Pressing their noses through the opening, they looked inside. One of the guards was sound asleep against the wall, snoring loudly. The other sat beside the cheddar cup with his chin in his paws. He had a mean and hungry look. Suddenly, he stood up and kicked the other rat. "Wake up, Packer," he ordered. "What's the matter, Sergeant?" The scrawny old rat blinked his eyes. He stood at attention. "Intruders?" He picked up the board and swung it back and forth. "Don't be stupid," said Sergeant. "It's not fair. You fall asleep while I stay awake just to guard this chunk of cheese. I have better things to do with my time." "Like what?" asked Packer. "Like sleep," said Sergeant with another swift kick. "Why don't I sleep and you guard the cup for a change? We've been hauled up here for 2 days and nothing has happened yet. And nothing is going to happen. We've seen the last of those mice. In the meantime, Big Boris and the others are eating good garbage. We just sit here and starve to death." Benny's ears burned and his nose twitched with anger. He'd show those rats. He crawled inside the loudspeaker and took a deep breath. Then he yelled as loudly as possible. He tried to make his voice sound like Big Boris. "Attention, guards," he said. "Hard times are here." The loud noise echoed through the tunnel. The two rats jumped to their feet and saluted. Benny smothered a giggle. It looked as if the plan were going to work. The two rats really thought he was Boris. "Take the cheddar cup out through the back door," Benny ordered. He felt braver by the minute. "Load the cup up onto the skateboard, then come to the garbage cans to the north side of the forum. We'll have to store as much food as we can because there are bad days ahead." Benny held his breath. Had the guards recognized his voice? "Hard times are here!" screamed Packer. "Did you hear that, Sergeant? Why don't we eat the cup ourselves and make our getaway?" "I'm in charge here," Sergeant shouted. We will obey Big Boris, our leader. Get moving." Benny's heart thudded. Peppy and Figaro stood close behind him as he watched the rats struggle with the cheddar cup. They pushed it to the opening in the baseboards. They tipped the cup over on its side. For a moment it looked as if the cup would break into a million pieces. Then the two rats safely pushed it through the opening into the tunnel. "They fell for it," Benny whispered. "Hook, line, and sinker." "I hope so, Captain," said Figaro. It seems almost too good to be true." "Good planning," Benny said modestly. He stepped back inside the megaphone and bellowed again. "Guards, have you put the cup on the wheels?" "Yeah, boss," called Sergeant. "Can we go and get some grub now?" "Guards dismissed," Benny yelled. His voice cracked on the last note, but the rats were too excited to pay attention. Benny and his teammates hid inside the loudspeaker. Peppy trembled, but Figaro sat quietly. The rats charged out of the passage through the secret room. Then they raced into the locker room. Benny felt the megaphone rock as the guard rats ran past. When all was silent, Benny crawled out with the others. They danced around in a circle. "You did it, Captain," said Peppy. "You tricked them." "There's no time to waste," Figaro said suddenly. He stopped dancing. "There's no telling how soon Big Boris will discover the theft." "You're right, Figaro," Benny said. "We don't have much time to get the cup home." They rushed through the empty dressing room. The crowd shouted and stamped overhead. Someone had scored a goal in the playoff game. Now the mice were in the tunnel. There was the cheddar cup perched safely on the skateboard. It was theirs now, thought Benny proudly. He scarcely had a moment to stop and admire it. He would look at the cup later, when it was home once again. He gave the skateboard a push and it began to roll slowly. The cup gave it just enough steadiness to stay on course. Once Benny had made the first turn, he relaxed. Then he heard a sound that turned his blood cold. The rink rats were coming back. "What do you mean, I ordered you to take the cheddar cup?" Big Boris screamed. "I've been over at the snack bar all night." "But, boss," cried Packer, "we heard you give the orders. You said hard times were here." "Rubbish!" Big Boris cried. "Times have never been better. There's more food in the Forum than our ancestors ever dreamed of." "I smell a mouse. A seedy little bullet-sized mouse who wants the cheddar cup back. He'll stop at nothing to get it." "The mice can't have gone far, boss," said Sergeant. "We can still catch them." "You better catch them," said Big Boris. "Fast." Benny listened in horror to the noise from the rink rats' locker room. The rats scuffled about and bumped into each other. Their heavy breathing could be heard in the corridor. They rushed into the tunnel. "I have to do something to save the cup," Benny told himself wildly. A plan began to form in his mind. "Stay close to the cheddar cup, team," he told Peppy and Figaro. "Don't abandon it, no matter what." "What about you, Captain?" asked Peppy. "You're not going to abandon us, are you?" "I'll stay behind, Peppy," Benny said. "When the rink rats find me alone, they'll chase me instead of you. And the cup. Hurry, there's no time to argue." Reluctantly, Peppy and Figaro pushed the skateboard around to the next turn. When they were out of sight, Benny shoved back his shoulder. The rink rats were so close he could feel their hot breath on his neck. "There he is!" cried Big Boris. "After him! He's got the cheddar cup!" Benny took a deep breath and then plunged into the corridor. He took a right turn instead of a left. Above, he heard the roar that signaled the end of the hockey game. Thousands of human feet thundered down the stairs. The organ music swelled and to fill the Forum with sound. Benny ran as fast as his feet would carry him. He ran through the dark tunnels and around dangerous turns. The rink rats were right behind him. Up ahead, he spotted a brightly lit opening. Big Boris almost caught Benny's tail, but Benny managed to outdistance the rat. He headed for the light ahead. It was a mouse-sized opening. Benny ran for his life. He reached the hole and slipped through the other side. What was happening? His feet flew out from under him, and he skimmed across the slippery surface of the ice. He found himself flat on his back looking at the enormous electric clock and scoreboard right in the rafters of the Forum. He scrambled to his feet, but he was on the ice without skates, slipping and sliding. The bright lights from overhead blinded him. Benny skidded along towards a big machine. The man at the wheel didn't notice Benny. He whistled and fixed his eyes on the ice straight ahead. Cleaning the ice and spraying boiling water on the surface, the machine was 100 times more dreadful than any cleaning equipment Benny had ever seen. And it was headed straight for his grinding, churning monster.